Once upon a time, the Iberian lynx ruled here, although the Arabs called the region the land of rabbits. Today, however, both the lynx and the rabbit are rare. The Iberian lynx has all but vanished, along with its favorite prey. But biologist Rafael Cadenas Piano and his team hope to reintroduce the rabbit to give the lynx a second chance.
Bueno, pues vamos a soltar este conejito, es un macho.
So we're going to release this little guy. He's from the Cádiz region, and hopefully he'll adapt well and continue to repopulate the area.
Cuidadito. ¿Cuántas hembras van? Siete. Ocho.
Rabbits make up 90% of the lynx's diet.
Si planteamos conocer la situación del lince.
If we think we know the lynx's status, then we also have to know the rabbit's. It's simple. We always figured that the rabbit was a very prolific species which could reproduce easily, but this can also lead to some serious problems. In order for a lynx territory to exist, we need at least 3 to 4 rabbits per hectare in the spring.
The last rabbits of the summer were released today. Over the past 4 years, Rafael's team has released over 16,000 rabbits. Astrid Vargas oversees the breeding project at the El Acebuche Center. The first captive-born Iberian lynxes were born here in March 2005.
To celebrate, we uncorked something bubbly, and from that moment on, we monitored the mother and her cubs for days on end, 24/7. It's a long-term project. First, we have to gain the trust of the parents. This is an amazing opportunity to observe things that are normally impossible to study.
It's not easy for Astrid to obtain samples from lynxes in the wild.
The father is simply magnificent. Really a beautiful animal. He's the only adult we captured for the breeding program. At first we had difficulty luring him into captivity, since he was used to a large territory and many females. It took him about 6 months to get used to his new surroundings, but I don't think he suffered too much. We tried to make his life as pleasant as possible.
The team at Acebuche hopes to create a strong captive breeding program with lots of genetic diversity. But back in the field, Rafael hasn't forgotten about the wild lynxes.
There aren't a lot of suitable dens for the lynxes, so we've created this one to encourage new couples. We'll have to wait a year or so to see if it works.
Step by step, Rafael and his colleague follow the lynx's track.
It looks grey, almost white, with lots of rabbit hair. And it has a very particular odour, but that's why you have to smell it, even if it's not very pleasant.
The lynx's chance of survival depends heavily on the goodwill of local landowners. Rafael wants to change the minds of even the keenest hunters.
One of
the strongest arguments is that the protection of the lynx shouldn't mean banning all hunting. There has to be a balanced approach to this in terms of relying on our natural resources. We need a solution that will protect an endangered species like the lynx and the interests of the hunter. We finally succeeded in facilitating an historic achievement, with a potential solution that at least gives us some hope for the preservation of the species.
Releases into the wild won't begin until 2010. But extinction still looms for one of the world's most endangered cats.
There are lots of factors that threaten the lynxes, but we've got to work very hard to protect them because they really are in imminent danger of extinction. They could disappear before our very eyes.
In the extreme west of Andalusia, the Doñana dunes share space with a transient pine forest.
The dunes constantly consume the forest, but the birds come and distribute their seeds, so the forest reappears. Over the centuries, there's always been several sections of sand. 1, 2, 3, the fourth, the fifth, and between them, the pine grove.
Francisco García Novo has worked at the Doñana Biology Reserve for the past 30 years.
A long time ago, when I first started here, it was like working inside a large-scale laboratory where you could find everything: fauna, flora, and all the elements in motion. I've had the opportunity to study lots of dune ecosystems all over the world. These are some of the biggest, tallest, and best preserved in Europe. 50 years ago, there were still a lot of dunes in Europe, but urban expansion, tourism, and industry have taken their toll. Lots of people are surprised to learn that the dunes move and destroy the trees. They often ask, why don't you stop it? But this would be a crime, since the dunes and the forest are actually in balance. A balance that we've been studying for many years. We've looked deeply into the relationship between the plants in the dunes at the morphological, ecological, and physiological levels, and even on the molecular and genetic levels. And this has taken us further than we'd ever imagined. This is the camarina plant, which is actually made up of two plants. This half produces white fruit, and this half doesn't bear any fruit at all. This is the male half, and the female half. It's hard to separate them.
According to popular belief, the camarina berries calm fevers and quench thirst. The camarina evolved as the continents of Europe and Africa separated millions of years ago.
It's like a living fossil. It's interesting to see how an ancient plant like this can adapt as a result of climate change, and how it competes with other, newer species.